Hello and welcome, Sea Alaska shareholders. I'm excited to be here with you today. My name is Matt Carl. I'm the Senior Director of Corporate Communications for Sea Alaska. My family is from Heidelberg. I was born and raised down there on Prince of Wales Island. Have worked for Sea Alaska for the past 5 years. Today I have the honor to discuss with you guys our shareholder participation committee. And today you're going to hear from a couple committee members. You're going to hear from one of our directors, Barbara Cadiente Nelson, who oversees the concept of the shareholder participation committee as our shareholder relations chair. Today, what we're going to talk with you about is just the overall purpose behind why the shareholder participation committee exists. We're going to run through an agenda here shortly. This is an opportunity for shareholders to learn more about the shareholder participation committee. Hear a little bit from Susan Anderson, who's a member of the Other Alaska Committee, and I'll talk a little bit about how the three committees are comprised, and also Alexis Blake, who is a member of our Outside of Alaska Committee. In total, there are 21 members, 7 on each. We're excited to share with you guys today and reveal the names of 3 new committee members. So there's going to be 24 total members, 8 on each committee. And the 3 new members that you're going to learn more about today are youth members. And we're excited about that because at Sea Alaska, we feel like we've been a leader among the Native corporations in allowing for a youth voice through our board youth advisor. And so that's something that we're really excited about, incorporating that concept into the shareholder participation committee. And so it's going to be a chance for us to have a little bit of a dialogue with Barbara, Susan, and Alexis, and also answer some questions. And so before I jump into that, I just want to give a land acknowledgement that just really recognize that we as the Haida, Tlingit, and Tsimshian are the original habitants, the original owners of our traditional homelands in Southeast Alaska. And we are, the 4 of us that you see on screen are representing a couple of diverse locations. I know Alexis is out of state, I think, right now in Colorado, and Barbara might be in Juneau, and Susan and I are here in the land of the Dena'ina. And so the Shareholders Participation Committee has been around since 2019. And as we, back then, as the board looked at how can we find more ways to engage directly with shareholders, and this concept came up. It was a concept, give credit where credit's due. CIRI was the organization that originally created this. And so we modeled a lot of what we're doing after what CIRI was doing, and it's evolved. And I think it's evolved in many ways to fit what Sea Alaska is about. And that's reflected in how the committees are comprised today, and you're going to hear a little bit about that. So what I'm hoping to do right now is to talk to you guys a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Barbara. As many of you guys have heard on the news, hopefully you guys have had a chance over the past couple of months to learn about our connection to our partners and our family members in Hawaii through the Moana Nua Akea. And I think it would be, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the tragedy that is unfolding over there. We have a really strong connection. We are all people of the ocean as Hawaiians and our traditional people here in the region. And so if I could, Barbara, if you could just say a few words and just share a little bit more about what some thoughts that Sea Alaska is considering on ways that we can help our family over in Hawaii.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon, fellow panelists and shareholders. As Matt said, my name is Barbara Cadiente Nelson. I'm a Tequedi Brown Bear from Angun Kwan, Kutsnu Kwan. My Tlingit names are Eshkoka Yanasak. Eshkoka was given to me to carry the name of the late Minnie Johnson, my great aunt. And I was given the name Yanisach from the late David Katzek during his mother Anna Katzek's ku'ik. And I'm very privileged to carry that name and for it to carry me. My parents are Irene Hunter Cadiente. She's celebrating her first heavenly birthday today, August 15th. And also my father is Andres Cadiente, who was adopted by my uncle, Dr. Walter Soloff, into the Fleanady Dog Salmon clan. And before I respond to Matt's cue, I just want to give a special shout out to a very precious elder, Mabel Jack, my aunt in Angoon, the Deshitan clan. As Matt said, Juneau's been experiencing one of the most grievous floodings from the glacier melting and receding. The flooding of August 5th caused bank erosion on the Mendenhall River, collapsing homes into the river and just shaking the foundations of many other houses and flooding homes and structures. Juneau family have been and are still recovering from the impacts of this flooding. And some of you on Facebook might look at Juneau Collective Community or Juneau Community Collective and look at the recordings of what has occurred here. And just recently, a few days back, there was a landslide up on Star Hill, which is where I was born and raised. And so there's a lot of activity that's happening outwardly. We can see it now, the impacts of global warming and the like. And certainly there's many things that are occurring that we don't see in the oceans. This past weekend, as Matt shared, our Hawaiian ohana were uprooted from their homes and family after devastating wildfires engulfed parts of Maui and the Big Island with only seconds to evacuate to safety. I know it took our breath away just hearing it and watching it. And all have wondered how we could help. How can Sealaska help? So Sealaska has, I would like to share with you a few ways that you can reach out and give to those that are suffering right now. And I'm hoping that Matt can roll those credits as to where that our shareholders can provide some relief.
Yes, we will be sure to share that in the chat. And yeah, thank you, Barbara, for mentioning the impact also that's with the flooding. And I think it's we've noticed over the course of the past several years, 15 years, the impacts of global warming, which is one of the reasons why we as an organization, Sealaska, are taking a look at what we can do to address climate change. And we've talked about ocean health. It's a mantra that I think hopefully shareholders are learning more about. It's reflected in our business philosophy, and so it's something that's critically important to us. And so we will talk more about that at a separate Zoom. But for today, want to just really look at talking more about this shareholder participation committee, and the concept that we believe that this is an opportunity for us, again, to engage more directly with shareholders. We view the groups as a conduit to hearing from you, your voice, your collective voice as shareholders. And so we'll talk about how the committee members reach out and also look at ways that we can improve it, because I think as we've looked at it over the past couple of years, we see the program evolving. It's been 4 or 5 years now, and we're looking at ways to improve it. And that's part of the reason why we're having this Zoom today, because we want to open up that dialogue with all of you and start collecting your feedback. It's also a time, like I mentioned, we have the 21, now 24 members. Most of them serve on 3 or 4 year terms, and we'll share a little bit more about that here later. But several of the members are going to be terming out. Their terms will be ending this year. That ends at the annual meeting. That's when the term period ends at the annual meeting in June. And so there will be 11 open seats this coming year. And so I'm hoping, as we talk about the committee and you see the excitement from Susan and Alexis on what this means to represent our 25,000 shareholders, that some of you will be compelled to submit your name and submit an application to participate on the committee. So again, 11 open seats. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in the course of the hour. And so we have a video, one of the SPC chairs. So before I jump in there, I know that Pixie behind the scenes is getting ready to roll this video. I'll share the names of the 3 chairs. So for the outside of Alaska SPC group, Crystal Pointer is the chair of that committee. And she's really actively involved, and Alexis will talk a little bit more specifically about how that group engages with our shareholders that live out of state. So that's the Outside of Alaska Committee. All the shareholders, now more than half of our shareholders, believe it or not, live out of state. And so this is really a recognition. This committee itself is really a recognition that we need to find ways to continue to work with those shareholders that live out of state for various reasons. And then the chair of our other Alaska committee, which is essentially all the communities outside of our traditional homelands in Southeast. The chair of that committee is Penny Gage, and you guys have heard from Penny over the past couple of years. We've leaned on Penny heavily to talk. She's chaired various events for us, and she's just, a wonderful speaker. She really has a lot of knowledge about Sealaska, stays actively involved. And Susan, who is a member of that committee, will talk a little bit more about that. And then Melissa Kukesh, who was not able to be here with us, she had a conflict. She represents as the chair of our Southeast Alaska committee. And so we'll find another time later on in the course of the year to talk to you guys and get a chance for you to hear from Melissa. So we'll talk a little bit more about the SPC groups and how each of them represent the three different groups, the three different geographic locations, and how they work to represent your voice. And so, Dixie, if you are ready, we'll roll the video from Crystal Pointer, our Outside of Alaska SPC chair.
Good afternoon, shareholders. I'm so happy to be here. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to make it to the live meeting. I did want to take a moment to introduce myself. My name's Crystal Pointer. I'm Haida Raven. My grandmother is Jermaine Charles, daughter of Gilbert Charles and Julia Nix of Heidelberg, Alaska. I have one son. I'm married. Born and raised here in Vancouver, Washington. It's about 10 miles north of Portland, Oregon. I work in water remediation. I provide operational oversight for our local wastewater treatment here. And I'm just really excited to be here. Presently, I serve as the Outside Sealaska SPC chair. That encompasses the lower 48, includes shareholders in Hawaii as well.
Yes, that's back to me. Thank you, Dixie, for sharing that. I'll just elaborate a little bit on Crystal and just a recognition to Crystal and all of the Outside of Alaska SPC groups. All 21 members are extremely passionate, but the group outside of Alaska has found ways to connect through various events in the Pacific Northwest. A number of them live there. Alexis herself lives in Colorado, and others, that live in the Pacific Northwest region, which is actually where a lot of our outside of Alaska shareholders live for various reasons. I think we have a strong connection to Seattle and the Portland area, and we have roughly 5,000 of our 25,000 shareholders that live in Seattle. If you extend that a little bit further, it gets to be around 6,000 in the Oregon, Washington states. And so Crystal and her group has been really actively involved. I just want to recognize them. Cecilia Tavallero and Crystal recently attended the Seafair Powwow, and they also attended the Tlingit Haida picnic down in Seattle. And so we're working with that group in particular to find more ways to connect with our shareholders that live particularly in those two states where there are events that take place. And so thank you, Crystal, for that update. And again, we're going to look for opportunities to find more for more direct engagement with these SPC groups. And so while I do that, I want to turn it over to our other Alaska SPC member, Susan. If you could introduce yourself and just provide a little bit of an overview on your role with the SPC committee. You're on mute, Susan.
You think after 3 years I would know how to do that, but so let me say again, Wasa'iyate, how are you? And I hope you're all doing well. My family, Henry Anderson Jr. is originally, that's my dad, and my mom, Nancy Parker. My dad was originally from Wrangell and Juneau, and my grandmother, Charlotte Blake, and my grandfather, Henry Anderson, and then my great grandparents, Eva Kunk and George Blake. So they came from Southeast. I ended up actually enrolling in SERI up here. And so I'm an inherited Sealaska shareholder through my uncle. And my role on the Shareholder Participation Committee is one that I really wanted to get to know Sealaska better because of my, I've been very involved in Alaska Native organizations and serving our people through working with the SERI Foundation for many years, and actually being on the flip side of presenting to shareholder participation committees in that role. So I thought that I could have some interesting input that could be shared with Sealaska and the committees as they formed, and then now as they are evolving, as you were saying. So it's really an honor to be on the Shareholder Participation Committee. And again, as you said, I think it's evolving. And that's the amazing thing about we as Native people. That's what we've done for 10,000 plus years. And that's why we're still here. So I think the reality is the shareholder participation committees are a new tool for Sealaska. And again, I'm very honored to be part of that new process. So Ganashish.
Thank you, Susan. Before I turn it over to Alexis, I just want to, again, as an example, how does this group help us? Susan in particular, we reached out and based on her experience, she was formerly the director of the SERI Foundation, and so we leaned on her as part of our evaluation committee for our language proposals. So that's just one example of how we use the expertise of our SPC committee members to help us. And so that's the language program. I'm sure you guys are all well aware. That's led by Tasha Human. It's a $10 million investment that Sealaska is making into the revitalization of our 3 languages. This year we gave out, I think, approximately $750,000. Tasha, you can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on that. I know you will. Again, it's just a huge effort, huge undertaking. And we did work with SPC members to help us evaluate the various proposals that we received. And so thank you, Susan, for the time commitment that you made on that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our second, third technically, because Crystal's not here, but we heard from Crystal. So the third person you're to hear from is Alexis Blake, who is a member of the Outside of Alaska Committee. Alexis, if you could introduce yourself.
Gunak Chish, Ha'i Adi, Alexis Blake, Yohat Duasak, Linkit Hina Saktinak, Yohat Duasak, Chak Ayahat, Kit Nahatsite, Kate Kwanda Ayahat. Hope I said that right. I was practicing. Hi, my name is Alexis Blake. I am Tlingit from Cake. That's my hometown. I am an eagle killer whale, and I've been with the SPC as a member and the secretary for the Outside Alaska for a year as of October. And then I'm also a disaster program manager for the American Red Cross. And so we're kind of transitioning. We were living in Washington, D.C., but now we're kind of doing a big smiley face of the whole United States and moving back up to Fairbanks. So I'm really excited. So thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you, Alexis. As Alexis mentioned, she is moving. She's coming back home to Alaska, and she'll be residing in Fairbanks. And so we want to continue to keep her on the committee. And so we're looking for creative ways to continue. Maybe we're going to move her to, the plan right now is to move her to the other Alaska committee. So again, Alexis, thank you for your commitment. And so and we're going to transition a little bit to have a bit of a conversation with Barbara Ketty-Nelson, who again is the chair of our SRC committee. Barbara was involved when we originally created the SRC, and I mentioned a little bit about the structure of the 3 geographic locations, the 7 members each that comprise the committee. The process that we go through originally when we created the committee was to have shareholders apply. We had a lot of interest. Just recently when we had the open seats, we were really overwhelmed by the number of people that responded and submitted their names. And I hope you submit your name again. If we didn't select you this last time around, I hope that you consider applying for the other the 11 seats that are going to be opening up in 2024. So Barbara, if you could just talk a little bit about what, from the board's perspective, what were the original goals of the SPC when the board decided to create this program?
The original goals, thank you, Matt. The original goals were to really engage our shareholders. We're 25,000 plus and growing. And so too is Sealaska Corporation. You know that Sealaska's purpose is to strengthen our people, our homeland, and our culture. And we can't do it alone. We're spread throughout the nation, throughout the globe, and yet we have a great purpose. Sealaska Corporation has a great purpose that is global, to offer the world some of our ancient traditional value system and just caring for the planet as she is. So the goal of SPC is really to be engaged, to know who we are as a board and what our values are, to know the corporation as intimately as possible. And there's an ulterior motive too. Many of you have probably heard our board chair, Joe Nelson, always say at the end of his welcome, "Come home." And so I was really had a big smile on my face when I heard that Alexis is coming home as well. So let me go back to that. When we as a people we're formed and created to be here in our homelands, it defines who we are. And what we've learned with many of our shareholders who either grew up out of state or visit ever so frequently, that we're really charged as a board to connect people to place, connect them to that pathway to identity. And out of that comes the responsibility for taking care of the resources that we were gifted as a people, not just our lands, but our waterways, and not just our land and waterways, but truly who we are and our value system as a people. And so, again, bubbling up more concretely is that we're charged to bring others along, to bring our 25,000 plus shareholders along, not only in the mission of Sealaska and its purpose, but also in the responsibilities of caring for our land. And as many people that are on board to learn about our business platform and how we actualize our traditional values, the better we are, the stronger we are as a people. We made a commitment many years, you've heard the board say, that we value and we listen for the voice of our shareholders. We hit the road in the spring and we visit many communities, and we come back more charged, more energized, more focused on what it is that we are privileged to do on behalf of our shareholders. So from a philosophical point of view, I shared that, but we've seen the concrete outcomes and the engagement of SPC thus far, individuals that are concerned, informed, and help us carry the water of our purpose. So thanks for asking that, Matt.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. You got me thinking about the coming home. And one of the cool things about the 3 youth positions is that a few of them are returning home, and we're going to talk. I'm not going to reveal the names yet, so just a little bit of a teaser for that, and we'll talk a little bit about the 3 youth. But if you could just elaborate, Barbara, on the concept behind adding the 3 youth. We have 2 board youth advisors. I'm not sure if a lot of people really know that yet. We just introduced Braylon Martin. As hopefully many of you guys know, Connor Ulmer has been with us, and he's going to go on for a 2nd term. And we're going to have staggered terms essentially. And so Connor and Braylon will be representing our youth voice and the youth perspective in the boardroom. Can you talk a little bit, Barbara, about adding the 3 new youth members to the 3 committees?
Yes, I'm pleased to. I wish I could say that this was the board's idea. It was actually our board youth advisor's idea, Connor Ulmer, a Kagwantan member. he brought it up at our last board meeting, and we were on board. And that again shows the effectiveness of really listening to our youth, listening to where their vision and mindset is, and bringing them on board. And sometimes they lead us. And so the conversation was really, really great about the adding of 3 BYAs or to the shareholder participation committee, because we knew that in this age range too, that if we leave that gap, that truly is a generation gap if we don't bring our youth along to hand the baton to them that has been handed to us, again, in the purpose and mission of Sealaska Corporation. And so this will be their first onboarding coming up. And so I won't let the cat out of the bag either about who has been selected to serve, the 3 youth advisors that will be selected to serve for each of the 3 committees.
Yeah, thank you for that, Barbara. Just want to add real quickly, we have 75 people that are joining us online, which is a great turnout. One of the things you got me thinking about, there's been questions in the chat, so we'll try. I know, I just want to really acknowledge that for those that are participating in the chat, there's a lot of highs and hellos and sharing their locations, but we do have a couple of questions. One in particular from Clarice Johnson. Hi, Clarice. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being a regular attendee. We really enjoy hearing from you. Clarice asked specifically, and I think I'm summarizing here, but she asked specifically about how can people get engaged, how can they learn more about the various positions that each of the SPC members, and I'll allow Alexis and Susan. But frankly, what we try to do is provide access. And for those of you guys that are familiar with navigating My Sealaska, you will find the email addresses for the SPC members there. So you can ask them direct questions. And again, all of the SPC members have day jobs. This is not their permanent role. So I don't expect them, frankly, to know all the ins and outs of our businesses, but we try to provide them more information about the how Sealaska has evolved. And so Susan or Alexis, either one of you, I guess I'll turn to you, Susan, first, and Alexis, if you have anything to add, you want to talk a little bit about just how you like to engage and what, how accessible you are in your role as an SPC member.
Ganesh, that the answer is, as Matt was saying, obviously there's email, mysealaska.com, and you go to the services and then the participation, and you can find email addresses for us there. And I'm, really involved in what's going on here in Anchorage. A lot of the events that are happening, Tlingit and Haida, their activities that are coming up, they have open houses. We have the winter gathering that SCF holds. And, I think, I'm not sure, are our pictures on there? I'm not sure.
So not currently, but we're working on that. So that's something that so you guys will be identifiable. So yeah, we're working on that.
So obviously you can take a picture here so you can remember what I look like. And I am happy to chat. And again, I am not an elected official for Sealaska or anything, but I am here to be a conduit for you to ask questions and I can try and answer, or I can find out the answer for you, because sometimes it's just easier to ask one-on-one to a person versus in a large setting, or, all of those kinds of things. Not to say that, Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian people, we're not exactly shy, but but sometimes it is easier. So I am happy to talk to you. I mean, if you see me at the grocery store, if you see me out taking a walk, please come up and introduce yourself. And I think we're going to be doing more of these interactive type webinar events for folks, obviously, who don't live right in this area. So I am happy to be a conduit. And that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to be on the Shareholder Participation Committee. As mentioned earlier, it's to learn, but also to be able to share. So, Ganesh.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Alexis, do you have anything you'd like to add there?
No, she did a great job. I'm totally happy to answer emails or anything. I'm pretty excited about that. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you. Well, while I have your mic hot right now, Alexis, just share again, you being out of state and in Colorado, I know you're moving back now, but what what compelled you to submit your name and fill out the application? Could you share a little bit more, some kind of encourage some of the shareholders that might be on the fence about, what the process was like and why you decided to submit your name?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to serve on the SPC because I wanted to get more involved with the community and the organization as a whole, because Sealaska had given me so many opportunities, me and my family, just between, scholarships. They helped me through my undergrad and graduate school. They gave me internships, I became a certified protected species observer. There's so many things that they just helped me with. And I was just like, I am so stoked to be able to participate and give my time, because I feel like time would have the most impact and I could give the most. And I really love being able to get involved in what's going on and what I think is super important and what people will be drawn to and what excited about, or what they'd want to know more about. And that's kind of why I applied for the SPC. It was just because I wanted to give back, because you guys have given me so much.
Great, thank you, Alexis. I think it's reciprocal now, because we feel like we're getting a lot from you and from the other SPC members. While we kind of move along, I want to just share a little bit more about the structure of the SPC. The group meets on a quarterly basis, so we have quarterly meetings, very similar to how the board of directors is structured, where they have quarterly meetings, and we intentionally follow each board meeting a week after with the SPC group's quarterly meetings. And so again, that's intentional, because our management teams put a lot of work in preparing for the board meetings. And so we try to use a lot of the material that we present to the board and share it with the SPC groups after the quarterly meetings. And so just a couple of recent meetings is just give you guys kind of a flavor for how these meetings are structured. 2 meetings ago, I believe it was in April, the meetings were really structured to have more of a dialogue. And so it was a very one-on-one interactive meeting with the board of directors and the SPC groups, a chance for them to ask questions of the board. I'll share that we do get really great participation from our directors who are invited to attend the SPC groups. And so just an acknowledgement to our directors that make time, all of them really value, all 13 members. Is it 14 now with Braylon? I think it's 14. Got to get my math correct. I was a liberal arts major, so my team knows math's not my strong suit. So the directors are involved. Our last board meeting that we just recently had was more of a download on our kind of this ecosystem, the One Sealaska ecosystem. So we brought in Rosita World, who all of you guys are familiar with SHI, Elena Peterson from Spruce Root, Marina Anderson from our Sustainable Southeast Partnership team. And we had a couple members internally to talk about our natural resources. And so it was really a chance for, again, it was a deep download on it was kind of information overload, it felt like at times. It was a 4-hour meeting. And so again, we meet either 3 or 4 hours. It kind of depends on the structure of the agenda, but it's quarterly. Our next one is coming up. Let me look at my calendar really quick. It's in November. I believe it's November 8th, and that our next meeting is. Yep, it's Wednesday, November 8th. And so that's the next time that we'll be meeting. And so at that time, we'll be introducing the 3 youth members, and they'll be added to that. And so just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an idea on that. So a couple more questions for Barbara, Susan, and Alexis. What do you see, or how do you envision the SPC? And again, this is not, we didn't structure this in any way, so this is kind of an open forum. You guys will take your guys' answers, and we'll incorporate them into what we're doing. So just curious, I'll start with you, Susan. What would you see based on your time that you spent? Where would you like to see the SPC go?
Mm-hmm. Well, I did a little thinking about this, and I think SPCs, as we said in the beginning, they had a little bit of an interesting start because they were created just before the pandemic hit, and then everything went online. So I think that the connectivity and the interactive opportunity, while it was there and it was good in that sense, I think the opportunity to have more connection in person, I think, is really important. through the different meetings, through the different locations. I think how that structure could be addressed and evolve. And I think we've talked about that. And I think to really maximize the opportunity for people to have those, more intimate conversations with each other, and then really listening to the shareholders and descendants about what it is they think they need and want. And again, that goes back to that connectivity, and really looking at how to, how to weave all of that information together, and knowing, I mean, it's like, weaving a blanket. It's, you weave and you're going along, and then you realize, oh, you know what, I think I need to back up here, take that out and kind of start over and do something different. And that's okay. And I think that's where we are right now as part of the shareholder participation committee process, if you will. And I think it can be a really wonderful, and again, a new tool, if you will, for the board to have interactions with folks in a different way, for, again, shareholders and descendants to have interaction in a different way. And then frankly, also to look at, shareholder participation committee members as future, leaders, because people will get to know each other more, and their skills and abilities and interests, and perhaps being in more leadership roles, either in the organization, the for-profit organization, the subsidiaries, and or on the board. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I'm quite excited.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Barbara, I'll turn to you next.
Thank you, Matt. First, let me say that the first SPC meeting was face-to-face, and I attended that, and I was just taken aback by the level of information that was shared with our new members. It's enviable. There was no stone left unturned, and thank you for that, Matt, very much. And that has always been the case, even if it is information overload. That's the reason we need these committees, to share out, and the feedback we get is incredible. I remember during an annual meeting, we had a SPC members share at that meeting, and the feedback we got was, oh, I didn't even know they existed, and they so appreciated hearing from their fellow shareholders. I think Susan really said it very well, that what she really has gotten out of it is to learn and then to share. That's it in a nutshell, to learn and to share. There's so much to learn, and there's so much then to share. And then Alexis too, she talked about just that satisfaction, a means to be able to give back, to have that same mindset and spirit of building community. That really gave me the chills, because we're doing something right when our young people have those values and that mindset. How can we do this better? I think you said it too, Matt, that we're in an ecosystem. We need to maintain that balance, and that's it. That's our challenge in our personal lives and collectively as a people, to find a balance, to perpetuate our value system, to maintain that for generations to come. I'll wind down by saying a good friend of mine who recently passed, Gilbert Fred, shared with me that there's more than one way to heal us as a people. Language restoration is one way for certain, because our language encapsulates our values and our way of life. And he said the other is lineage. And so Susan and Alexis shared this, that when we come together as one, when we come together as community, when we come together as a people, we build those relationships that are meaningful. You heard Susan and Alexis share their clan identity. That's important. And Matt and Dixie as well, that's important. So my hope is when SPC meets, rather by Zoom or face-to-face, that those relationships and connections, those familial connections are strengthened, that we can really create a real solid platform when we come to know each other personally and what we're all about. To that end too, Susan, thank you. I agree as well that the board needs more interaction face-to-face and by Zoom with our SPC. We want it, you want it, and we just have to make it happen. Thanks.
Thank you. That's very, very great perspective, Barbara. Alexis, I'll let you close out just in terms of what you want to see with the future of the SPC.
Okay. The future of the SPC, I really love SPC in general, just because when I'm looking at even when the annual shareholder meeting and just all of the different comments and all the questions that they had, I loved being able to screenshot those or write those down and then go and ask you guys about them. And then you knew, oh, that's something really important. Maybe we should talk about that, or we should bring that up again, or we should discuss that. I think that is so exciting that we can have that capability to do all of that, and then we can talk about it like on a Zoom call or anything like that. And so we can really see what the shareholders really value, or what they see as important, or what they don't really think that we should do, or even just some of their brainstorm ideas, because that's really exciting too, because then that they feel like they can come to us or to somebody else and just like bring that up, and that we're happy to share it. So I think that's just really awesome. I love being in the SPC just because of that. I love reading the comments and the questions and everything.
Great. Thank you, Alexis. Just real quickly, I want to point out that Alexis, as she mentioned, was a scholarship recipient. So was Crystal Pointer. So was I a long time ago. So Sealaska, we did this thing one time where we asked folks at one of our community meetings to raise your hand if you're a scholarship recipient, raise your hand if you're an intern, raise your hand if you had worked for Sealaska, and really the whole room was raising their hand at one point. And so again, education and workforce development, which is led by Tesla Cox, that's something that's extremely important. So we're going to pivot a little bit. We had a couple more questions, but I really want to acknowledge the folks that have taken the time to meet with us today and have asked questions. I think we're close to almost 90 people online right now. I'm going to ask a couple of the questions. One of the first ones, Clarice Johnson asked about the bylaws. We have the guidelines for the shareholder participation committee that we can post online for you, Clarice, and others to read. And so we'll work on getting that updated and add that to the My Sealaska SPC page, and so you guys could see. And again, it's a lot of it's adopted, and to some extent around the board. We follow Robert's Rules of Order. There's some formality. We take meeting minutes. We have obviously motions, and we try to be as formal as possible. Knowing that it's an advisory group, the board, the board has acted on a few things, but it is an advisory group, and the meeting minutes and the actions that do come out of this group do get shared with the board. The board reviews under Barbara, as her role as SRC. Every single board meeting, we have an update on the SPC, and my team's able to provide that update. And so that's something that's really critically important for us. Another question, thank you, Vicky Mata. Vicky attends a lot of these meetings, so thank you, Vicky, for your role in what you do to help keep our shareholders informed. Vicky has asked a question about the ways fellow shareholders can connect, and her follow, and just so essentially we talked a little bit about that. You have kind of the understanding that you can connect directly to them. In her follow-up question, she asked, can shareholders ask board members questions, or must they go through an SPC? We always encourage shareholders to contact the board. First and foremost, contact the board, contact Anthony. Anthony puts his email out there. Our directors are extremely accessible. They are extremely open for our shareholders to contact them. It's relatively easy. Barbara's probably the most difficult one because her name's hyphenated, but if you need to reach anybody in Sealaska, it's very easy. It's their first name, period, last name @sealaska.com. So Vicky and others, if you do have questions of the directors, and I know many people go to them because the directors will forward me the question to follow up if they don't have the answer, or it might be outside of their scope or outside of their wheelhouse. And so we try to be as responsive as possible. To that end, one of the things that our team does, the corporate communications team, this is something that is led by Dixie as our community outreach manager. We try to have informational sessions on a quarterly basis at a minimum, but throughout the year where you guys could ask questions of the directors. And so that's one venue where you can ask direct questions of our directors. I think we just had one just recently. Well, I know we just had one. I'm trying to find the date in the back of my mind. but we had a board Q&A session. And again, that's really intentional. It follows every board meeting where we have a virtual Zoom session. It was on August 8th, about a week ago. And so that is your opportunity as shareholders to have direct access to our directors that are involved in that. And so hopefully that answers your question, Vicky. And again, if you have any further questions, you always could email me. I've shared my email address with you when I've met you. Crystal Lynn Lemieux, I think it's Lemieux, asked how other shareholders who are not on the SPC, who can help. Actually, I'll turn that over to you, Barbara, and just kind of what you see as how shareholders can help and provide feedback.
I love that question, Crystal. And it brought me right to when I was a young woman and working for Sealaska Corporation in my early 20s, mid 20s. An elder by the name of Cecilia Kuntz came up, and she had her walking cane, and she thumped that cane on every desk and asked us, "Are you a member of the Alaska Native Sisterhood? Are you a member of the Alaska Native Brotherhood? And if not, why not?" And she held a high level of accountability, never letting us forget the fight for the successful suit of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act. Your question is really dear to my heart in that there's so much of a need for us to gather together and strengthen one another as a people. And I don't know which community you live in, Crystal, but this is a global community too, by way of Zoom. So connecting with SPC members, connecting with the board, and asking that question, staying in tune with the feeds that come out, the communication feeds with that come out of Sealaska Corporation will keep you abreast of what our initiatives are. When I say our, I mean we as a people. But look at your community in general, and please email me, barbara.cadiente-nelson@sealaska.com. If it goes into the spin wheel there, it'll find me. But thank you for that question. And by the way, I just wanted to give a shout out to and thank all the 90 participants that are here. But Clarice Johnson was at one time the one-man SPC. So it's great that she's still in tune. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for that, Barbara. There have been a couple of other questions and some suggestions. Barbara Franks, let me see if I got this right. Barbara Franks asked a great question about designing something to protect regalia. I know that's something that's really critically important to SHI. So Barbara, we will pass that on, your thoughts to SHI. Martha Gallagher asked if Sealaska provides transportation to and from events for elders, for the elderly and disabled. That's actually something that we've looked at specifically as we're, when we're holding events in different communities. We do look for opportunities. We had an event earlier this year in Portland where we provided parking, and so we try to make it as easy, again, as accessible as possible for our shareholders, regardless of where they live, to attend. A couple of other things I wanted to share. I think there was a mention earlier, the group itself has only met once or twice. I believe it might have been only once. And primarily that was due to the pandemic. And, I think we all can relate to how COVID has impacted us. It's given us an opportunity to do this more often, which is good, but there's nothing that replaces face-to-face contact. And so our team, our corporate communications team, Dixie and I in particular, are looking for ways to bring the three groups together and bring the larger group together. And so a couple of ideas that we're exploring right now is for the other Alaska group to meet during AFN, and also to bring up as many as possible from Southeast and from the lower 48, those who can attend. It's a big time commitment, obviously, to attend. It's essentially a full week of AFN when you throw in the First Alaskans, elders, and youth. So we realize it's a big time commitment, but we are working on trying to have a collective SPC group meeting, reception, if you will. It might not turn out to be a formal meeting because AFN is a time to celebrate, and we try to take advantage of that. We are also looking for ways to have the outside of Alaska group meet during, we're in the process of planning an upcoming shareholder event in California, and so we're planning to bring our outside of Alaska group there to represent, and then also at our company the company holiday party. The holiday party, I say company, but it's really a blended effort between Click and Haida and some other groups down in Seattle. So during Seattle, I think all of you guys that live in the Seattle area are familiar with that. And so those are just a couple of ideas. And again, lastly, the one other opportunity that just makes a lot of sense is the annual meeting and bringing all the SPC members up to the annual meeting where it makes sense. This past summer, this past year, we had it in Kloak, and there just frankly wasn't the capacity with regard to housing. So we're looking at next year's. Am I allowed to say where the meeting is at next year, Barbara? Did we announce that yet? If not, you can say.
I let that cat out of the bag.
Okay, all right. I was going to say I would let you get in trouble, because if I say I don't want to get in trouble, but okay, we can say that the 2024 annual meeting will be in Sitka, and so we are planning to bring the SPC groups to the annual meeting. And so we are in the process now. Sally, who many of you guys know, Sally Kaznick, is working really hard on finding space for us, and so we're excited about that. All right, we have about 9 minutes left, so I want to make sure that Dixie, that I'm following along in the agenda. Let me take a quick look here. Without further ado, I want to share with you guys, this is the first time, so this is a big reveal on the 3 new members that are going to be joining us through their youth roles on the SPC. And again, I'm just so excited. I've had a chance to interview all 3 of the members. I had a chance to talk with them afterwards and learn more about why they're interested in serving on Sealaska. I have kids in their early 20s, and I know how hard it is to get kids to apply for things. And so I was just completely overwhelmed by the 3 young females that decided to put their name in the hat and apply for the SPC youth positions. The passion that they showed, the interest, the intellect, I just think that they're you know, just judging by the 3 of them, our corporation is in really good hands. And I say that also with the intern class that we just had. There's just a lot of talent that's coming up, and so we're delighted to share with you guys the 3 new youth members that will be joining. So the first one that will be with the SPC youth role on the Southeast Alaska Committee, Sabina Allen. So Sabina is going to be joining us. Sabina is originally from Sitka. She's currently going to school in the Chicago area. She's planning to move back to Alaska. Sabina is just extremely bright, extremely passionate, and we're really excited to have Sabina. And we're going to share more about all 3 members in a recap. So the next member for the SPC Youth for Other Alaska is Layla Pavlik. Layla is from Yakutat. Many of you in Yakutat and throughout Southeast might be familiar with Layla. She served in a capacity on the search on a search committee, so she has experience. And Layla was extremely interested in learning more about Sealaska, so she will be joining us. And then finally, the 3rd member for the SPC Youth for Outside of Alaska is Alyssa Guthrie, not to be confused with Alicia Guthrie, who is on the SPC as a member, but it's Alyssa Guthrie, who is from Petersburg. Alyssa currently attends Duke University. And again, just was completely blown away by what the reasons why Alyssa decided to apply. And so a huge congratulations to Alyssa, Layla, and Sabina. Just thank you guys so much for deciding to do this. I hope this meets your expectations. The committee members are extremely excited to meet all of you, and so we'll have a chance to meet all of them. And so those are the 3 youth members that we have. And so a couple quick things before we close out. I want to turn it over to Susan. As I mentioned earlier, Susan has some experience in her previous role at the Siri Foundations. As you guys know, education is extremely important to us can you provide just a little bit of insight for other students that might be tuning in today, or parents or aunties or uncles, on how their nieces and nephews and their dependents can get more involved in educational opportunities?
Ganeshesh. And yes, education, culture, and heritage are professionally, because if you think about it, it's about mentorship, it's about learning, it's about sharing of knowledge from generation to generation. And Alaska Native people, especially Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian, I mean, we've done that forever. And so it really is about the aunties and uncles, as you were saying. We take on that role, and it's really important to be able to share information about those scholarships and grants that are happening through Sealaska Heritage Institute. There's also the language grants that are happening through Sealaska, and it was my honor to be part of that selection committee. There was there's amazing work going on, amazing work. I know that it's not just through Sealaska that there are scholarships and grants. I know that the Siri Foundation still publishes the scholarship and grant booklet for all Alaska Native folks and then beyond. So there's a lot of opportunities. And again, it's about intergenerational sharing of knowledge, not only for culture and heritage, but also as we take the tool of education and we make it our own. That is powerful. If we make it our own, and then it goes on from there, and our new SPC members are examples of that, and it just makes my heart sing. So I am so blessed, and I'm very glad that they're coming up, and they will be the next generation of leaders, which it is really all about, and they will come from our community. So with that, I would say go to the Sealaska Heritage Institute website, go to the Sealaska website, and then the resources out from there. So Ganeshesh.
Well, you have the floor. We're going to do a closing comments now. So Susan, if you give just a really brief closing comment. Alexis, same to you, and then we're going to hear from Crystal, and then finally, Barbara, you're going to have the last words. So with the 3 minutes that we have remaining, we'll close with some closing comments. And again, before we do that, extremely appreciative of the 98 people that are tuning in. Just a big, huge hawa goodness cheese for all of you guys for joining us today. And hopefully, if we didn't answer your questions, please feel free to email me or anybody on the corporate communications team. So Susan, Alexis, and Barbara, if you guys could give some closing thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Another Ganeshesh to our participants, and that is what it's all about. That's what's really important. And we're talking about ocean health, we're talking about education, we're talking about culture, heritage, all of the things that Sealaska is working on with and for our Native people. So, and especially land. So I just say Ganeshesh, stay involved. You can find us at the My Alaska website. Please do. And again, if you see me walking along the trail, say hello.
Over to you, Alexis.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for allowing us to share more about the SPC and everything that we're doing and everything that we hope to do. I'm so excited about the youth positions. I think it's going to be really exciting because they're going to help us to navigate the future, right? They're going to be there. They're going to be inheriting our roles and our land and our cultures and how we're going to continue on. So I'm really excited about that. And like we were saying, we're so excited. Thank you for letting us engage and talk with you and answer any questions. And that's why we're here. And just makes me so excited. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Alexis. And before we turn it over to Barbara to close us out, Dixie, if you could roll the video from Crystal.
I think over the last year, with COVID settling down, the SPC, especially the outside Alaska committee, has really tried to get involved with being in the public eye. Our goal really is to kind of expand our reach to shareholders. We kind of want to cultivate an atmosphere with active engagement. It's really something to kind of enhance your knowledge of Sealaska. We want to help strengthen our communities, be a positive impact. be the voice of the people. So please reach out to us. You can reach us at myseaalaska.com. Each of our emails are available. Mine's crystal.pointer@sealaska.com. Make sure you reach out to me and I will get back to you.
Finally, to you, Barbara, close us out. Thank you guys again.
Yeah, thank you too for all those who joined us, and a special welcome to Sabina, Alyssa, and Layla. And Layla, if you're listening, if you're here, know that our community is holding your community of Yakutat in our hearts, and the loss of your loved one, John Pavlik. John passed away just on Sunday, and so our hearts are hurting with you. But I hope this time with one another, we all can hold each other up. And that's the way it's been for me today. And I hope it's the same for you. The coming in song that I'd like to coin it as reminded me of the late George Ramus from Yakutat. He prepared our youth so powerfully. They knew their history, they knew their lineage, they knew their purpose. And that's when why you see such a strong trait of identity when you see the Yakutat dancers, for example. And every dance group that follows, they have the same regiment. So this too is our way of coming together to strengthen one another. And as Dixie closes us out with a welcome home song, I hope you dance. And sheesh.
Welcome to Sealaska. Welcome home. We are proud to have you as one of our newest shareholders. Whether you make your home just down the street from Sealaska headquarters, elsewhere in Southeast Alaska, or anywhere else in the world, your home is here with us too. We value our inspired, diverse shareholder base. There is a place for everyone at Sealaska. No matter how far our descendants may venture from this place, you will always be part of it. Our ancestors walked the lands of Southeast Alaska, fished the waters, hunted the forests, and more recently, through the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, our people became the legal landowners of much of our ancestral territory. The land and waters and our people, Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian, all of it, all of us, are intertwined. Stewardship of our lands and waters here in Southeast Alaska is a tremendous responsibility, but through hard work and working together with our communities, Sealaska strives for balance between people and planet, between sustainable land management and sustained economic development, and between business and culture. This idea of balance drives our business as we work towards restoring balance to our environments, with an ultimate goal of global ocean health. Our operations are diverse across Alaska and the planet, but work together to foster growth in business while lifting up our home communities and investing in healthy lands, forests, and waters. These efforts come together under the network of One Sealaska, which includes our business operations arm, Wuch'een, along with the collective efforts of close partners, the Sealaska Heritage Institute, Sustainable Southeast Partnership, and Spruce Root. We cherish our relationship with these and other partners, drawing on our collective strength to lift all our communities together. Sealaska provides shareholder dividends twice a year and many other benefits that we are excited and proud to offer. Alaska offers scholarships to those pursuing post-secondary education and vocational training opportunities to those seeking other paths. We offer workforce development opportunities for shareholders at all career stages, many of which directly support our balanced land management strategy. Our summer internship program helps foster growth and forge connections for college students, while vocational training provides both early and mid-career shareholders with new skills to support their dreams. SEA Alaska also supports our communities through policy work, advocating for critical cultural and political issues at the state and federal level. Protecting traditional ways of life and cultural values, along with the lands and waters that have nourished our people for generations, are all SEA Alaska priorities. We advocate for our ancestral languages with the SEA Alaska Language Endowment Fund, helping revitalize our languages by supporting advanced speakers and gaining proficiency and fluency now before it is too late. Shareholders are our power, all of you, from around the globe. We take pride in our ability to come together in all our unique strengths and talents, drawing on our diversity to support each other through the challenges of today's world. No matter where our shareholders are, we are all connected to the lands, to the waters, to our ancestors, to each other. Welcome to SEA Alaska. Welcome home.